Good morning. Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah. We got some people here.
We do have some people here. Roll call.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Good morning.
Are we actually live?
It's working on it. It might be live for some, not live for others. All right.
Hey.
It
Oh,
is
it got my
hard.
face.
What was your face doing? Oh. All right.
Cool. Are you ready?
Yeah, look.
Check out the shirts.
New swag. Thank you, Blackberry Palm Creations.
Yeah.
Last week was courtesy of Jennifer Faith Creations. Wait, Jennifer Faith Creations? Creativity.
Creative.
Jennifer Faith Creative. There you go. Good morning, Allison. We can rock, paper, scissors before we do all our housekeeping.
Let's do it.
All right. Welcome to Books You Never Read.
Except for those we have.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Jason.
And this is episode 37, where we're going to talk about the last bit of a book we wish we never read, called The Flanders Panel by Arturo Perez Reverte.
Shots fired.
Aw, thank
Checkmate.
you for loving the shirts.
Yeah.
Good morning, Peggy. Wonder if we have Shelby with us this morning. Guess we'll see. So yeah, some bookkeeping or housekeeping, whatever. Bookkeeping, housekeeping. Please make sure that this is what you actually want to be watching. We talk about the books as if you have read the portion that we are going to talk about today, so spoilers abound. Please make sure that you like and subscribe and share and all those things, and if you're joining us live, please participate live in the chat, and if you're joining us later on the replay, please join the discussion in the comment section below. Also, we can take the comments off YouTube to Goodreads. We have a Goodread group now called Books We Never Read. And I don't know how much interaction there will be in the older books or if it'll just be moving forward, but there are folders for every book that we've read so far and a folder for the current book, and there'll be a folder for the newest book, which is going to be
Salt to the Sea by something Ruta Sepetys.
Sepetys. And I learned in the audiobook that I've been saying her last name wrong
What is
for
it?
years. Maybe Sepetys
Sepetys. That makes sense.
or
That sounds
Sepetys. I don't know. We'll find out. Sorry, Mrs. Sepetys.
Yeah. The book reads group is a little difficult to navigate from my phone, so it may be difficult to navigate from your phone.
Mhm.
It is definitely easier from the desktop version.
Yes.
So if you want to get involved in that, and you don't have to, right? It's just, we were already using Goodreads to track all of our stuff. Some of our reviewers were on Goodreads and kind of mentioned that they would like a group. We're happy to use it. We're definitely going to use it,
Yeah.
but it is kind of difficult to use the group function from your phone.
It might be that we don't have iPhones, and that just changes things sometimes. It might be totally normal on an iPhone or an iPad, I'm not sure, but you can always go to the desktop version and make it work a little bit better.
Don't forget, this is also available on YouTube Music as a podcast. So if you just want to listen to us and you don't want to have to see us, that is totally fine, and you can do this while you're driving. And I am still working on getting us on Spotify. And by still working, I mean I haven't, but I will.
I was going to ask, but I didn't want to be that person.
I'm on vacation.
Peggy says that she's glad this book is over. Me too. You know, last week we were kind of talking about, like, you know, that's just more like the Spanish style with all the description and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was kind of wondering, and I posed this question on the Goodreads community, you know, is it because all the description is about things that I don't know anything about, like fine art or chess? And maybe that's why I kind of hated it, because all the descriptions was about things that I don't care about. They're not important to me. A couple of years ago, I read a book that I highly recommend called The Murmur of Bees, maybe by Sophia somebody or another. It's on my Goodreads list, maybe. Sorry. Anyways, she's a Spanish author, and there was tons of description in that book. But it was description that I got lost in the most amazing way. It made the world come alive. I could see every aspect of that book like I was in it. And so I don't think that this is a problem with just a style difference. This was just pure misery.
So we finished the book at different times, and it is unfortunate because we were looking forward to this book so much. I don't think this book is all bad, because
No.
I actually did enjoy some of the chess and everything. But it was rough. It was rough, and it is Dan Brown rough, like Dan Brown Deception Point rough, which is unfortunate because I like this concept of the thriller, right? Like National Treasure, right? It's National Treasure.
This was worse than Dan Brown's Deception Point.
So we're gonna do a tier list at some point of our favorite books over our first year of shooting, and we're actually I think coming up on that in the next couple weeks as our first year. I think.
September.
In September? Okay.
I think so.
Wow,
I think it's
okay.
September.
Anyway, but this one is highly likely to make it to the bottom.
Oh yeah.
But so to the meat, right? Mr. Cesar, please, sir, right? I was right about him. I don't think it's shocking that I was right about him. Munoz has this great line, and this may be one of my favorite parts of the book, where Munoz was like, I would be disappointed if you weren't the killer. And I absolutely agree with that sentiment, because if it had been anybody else, it just would have been a problem, because Cesar was this like blank space, right? There was clues pointing at everyone except for him, and you have to, it just had to be him. If it had been anybody else, or if Julia had woken up in front of the painting after that first time falling asleep, I would have been really upset.
Yeah. So, okay, so Caesar's the murderer.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been enough for him to be the murderer because he is dying and because he wants to make sure that Julia has a good life. I mean, these are all not mentally healthy reasons,
Yeah.
but that would have been enough. I loathed the fact, present tense, I loathe the fact that the author used Caesar's sexuality in a criminal way, that like his homosexual tendencies can make him in some way a murderer. That makes no sense. That has nothing to do with anything. I park my car. I don't straight park my car, and I don't gay park my car. I just park my car, right? Like, you just live your life, and your sexuality has very little to do with any of that.
Well, so the first thing I would say is that this was the 90s, right? And so, like, that was a thing that people did, though, right? Where there were these sort of stereotypical not straight characters, right? Like, so it used to be a thing that, like, bi characters would be, like, murderers sometimes, like, they were, like, because, like, they were confused or whatever. Like, they were just complicated and stuff, and it's just not the way the world works. But like, they didn't know that.
They did know that.
They knew, but I don't know.
This was catering to like a weird trend of weird fears.
Yeah.
Gay people have existed as long as people have existed. We know that. But there's this like alternate part of our brain that allows us to use that as some kind of like trope, and it was just gross.
Well, to its defense, and I don't want to, but but I will. It's not the gayness that is the problem; it is the repression that is the problem.
He wasn't repressed though.
He sees himself as repressed.
But he was
whereas
the queen, and everyone loved him for it.
Whereas, yes. But it was always kind of hush hush. He wouldn't even. So there's this part where Julia talks about like how she and Cesar never actually had this conversation about him being gay, right? He may be rather open with his man toys and like his flamboyancy and like whatever it is he's doing with his life. Cesar feels that he is repressed.
And
right?
I can understand
He is this
that.
diagonal bishop attacking from different angles, right? He can't come at anything straight on. He has to come obliquely, right?
And I do see that, and that should have been, and that was mentioned, but that should have been the only angle that he felt this repression, because that is where trouble comes in when society does criminalize these kinds of things, and then a person feels like they can't be who they are, then that does create issues and resentment.
Repression of any kind
right.
tends to cause problems, right? Like if you had to repress the fact that you were like Jewish, right, and like you were secretly Jewish, right, eventually that boils over and causes trouble, right? If you were secretly an atheist, I don't know, right? Like whatever it may be. Do I think it is still weak sauce? Yeah, I do. But
yes.
but I just want to bring that up. That like I don't think it was that the gayness is incidental. Right,
but
it is the repression that is the problem.
But the gayness is what kept being mentioned. It was, the whole point of chess was some kind of like
Yeah.
gay dance. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. Okay, and so just to get caught up on the comments, because this is relevant.
Okay.
Okay, so, I need to skip one and come back to one. To throw it out there, Peggy says that he was just bummed because he couldn't get in a woman. What crap. So that was mentioned too. And that's also, like
he couldn't have sex with somebody?
Right, I
That was
guess
the thing?
so.
I think I do remember that part.
And again, that doesn't make any sense. Because if you're gay and then you want to date a woman, then you just go date a woman.
Yeah.
And who cares?
It doesn't sound like it's that hard. Everybody's dating everybody, whether they're married or not.
Oh, stupid. I'm surprised I didn't break my Kindle.
She quit reading like 4 times, and I was like, you have to keep going. It's like our shtick. We have to do that.
I truly did ask, just in all seriousness, like, do you think we could really be okay if I just abandon this book and am honest about it in the episode? Because it's not worth reading.
And then I would just explain what happened because I read it all.
So, okay, so back to Peggy's other comment.
Yes,
We can move on from this. I'm angry about it and I don't like it, and I don't have to keep talking about it. Peggy says, I like art, and I've seen those works she mentioned in the Prado, but describing the clothes, I won't get that time back.
Yeah. There was I know everything about Caesar's rings, like everything, you know. So I enjoyed being able to solve the mystery, right? I enjoyed knowing ahead of time what was going on. I'm not proud of it because I don't think it was difficult, but like I did enjoy that aspect, right? Like the vindication there.
I like that it's gotten you into chess.
I've played 99 games of chess since we started this book.
I'll start a conversation and I have to like check his phone real quick. I'm like, ooh, hold on.
Sorry, playing chess.
We're in a chess game.
You can play chess with me on chess.com.
What's your chess name?
AKALLEUS. Anyway, so the point being is I did think the whole like homosexual undertones, whatever nonsense, fine. The problem is that it was not that simple, right? The problem is that so Cesar's gay, feels repressed about it, he's angry, but also he has this repressed take that home. He has this repressed chess player within him because he got beat one time when he was a kid and then like never picked it up. And somehow that ties in with the homosexuality. And then he sees this painting and it speaks to everything, right? Like that's really like the crux of the matter, which is dumb. But he sees this painting and it brings up in him all the repression all at once. And he decides that because he is dying also, that it is time for him to like live his best life. And not only should he live his best life, he should make sure that Julia lives his best life. And so that means he's going to kill everyone, including himself. He's going to kill everybody, but not Julia, right? She is the White Queen, right? We kept getting these hints. Right? I could kill the White Queen, but I'm not. I'm going to take out everybody. So he goes around and he steals the painting because it speaks to him on an emotional level, and he starts murdering people in weird ways. Just all kinds of nonsense.
Really, just throat punching people. That was
throat
really
punching. By throat punching people generally. And then he sets up this like account with Montegrifo of all people, right? And I was laughing because
why did we include him?
One time when Nicole quit the book, she was telling me how skeezy Montegrifo was, and I knew that she wasn't even like to the end yet.
He's so gross.
And then, like, so get with him and this Swiss banker guy, and then y'all can go buy T-shirts and live in the Bahamas for the rest of your lives. And I'm going to kill myself by drinking acid if y'all could leave for 10 minutes. Oh, and then they didn't tell anybody. They decided to take the money. Y'all okay? It really bugged me that they took the money at the end of the book. It really bugged me.
Well, what do you do?
You turn in people and you keep the money.
And then, okay, so I got super confused after that because I was reading the squishy print because it's like different, this part of the print. But I was like, what is Julia now in like a nun? But it was
no. Yeah, so then
yeah. And what was that?
Well,
is that real? Or
I still want to go back to that because I'm still not convinced that the queen in the story is the real murderer. Right? Every time we get to, I would like to hear what y'all think about that.
So what was the story of the painting? What's actually? That's all I ever
Who
cared
knows?
about.
And it doesn't matter, right? What
was the point of the inscription? Why did he cover it up?
Right.
This was the real mystery that I cared about, and it was never addressed again.
It could be the queen, right? There's no reason why it couldn't be, but there's just no evidence for it, right? They really didn't figure out anything. They like looked at the painting. It appears in the painting that the queen takes the knight, I guess, right, by this retrograde analysis or whatever. But like, I still really think, because of the whole Caesar thing, I still really think that it was so let me take it back. I think the queen did it. I don't think she did it because of this like weird Burgundy story that Julia like made up and we got told. She did it because the knight was sleeping with the duke. That's all there is to it. It's chess games and chess games and chess games, right? Life imitates art. And there was this homosexual relationship in this book.
But she loved Ferdinand or whatever?
But she loves Ferdinand and she's jealous of the knight because the duke loves... Do I have any evidence for this? No. But it's supremely more interesting than...
But so, okay, the premise of this book was that there's this painting with an inscription and it unfolds a mystery, and everyone starts dying while we're trying to figure out what the mystery of the painting is.
2 people. 2 people died.
Yeah, 2 people died. No one figured out what the mystery in the painting was. And that's all I cared about?
Yeah.
So, okay, I do have to praise the author, Mr. Reverte, Senior Reverte. Like, some of the ideas and some of the storylines could have made a really great book.
Yeah.
Like, there were things that I, like, you know, coming into part 2, I wasn't excited about what I'd read in part 1, but I was excited about where it was going. Yeah. It just never went.
I think, so number 1, we got bogged down in the details, right? Like, and I think I said this maybe on the first week, that I feel like this is a great sort of exercise in, like, how much detail can you possibly give. And if that was the assignment, then you win, A+. But we got so bogged down in that like we missed the story, and it's almost like, you know, like, so why did the painting? Why was that written on the painting? It was written on the painting so that we could have this convoluted ending about Caesar, right? Like, the story existed for itself, and it made no other sense anywhere else, you know.
And that's not good. That's not good storytelling.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And so Alice, I haven't read all the other comments. Allison says lost in translation. Yes, maybe so. Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. Because
but...
all of his books have really great reviews on Goodreads.
This one has really great reviews.
And the other one that something about this in Seville, it had even better reviews.
Yeah. I'm willing to believe that there's good books out there, and I'm willing to believe that people... There is a certain kind of person who'd enjoy the detail and like being like, oh, I know that and I know that, right?
Yeah.
If somebody had written something in my region of the world and I had read this murder mystery, I'd be like, I've been there, right?
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
You're right.
But, you know, and you know what's a shame is I have been to some of these places that are mentioned.
Yeah, and you still didn't care.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
To get caught up on the chat, Peggy says, my students told me to quit because I'd read during breaks and yell at the stupidity. I said I needed to finish to discuss how stupid it was. And then Peggy says, saying, you killed my friend and ex. Yeah. Hey, new shirt. So just on the like flippancy of them just accepting the money and moving on.
Obviously Munoz is not okay, right? And there's this kind of hint that Caesar thinks that Munoz is gay. Because he has set up Munoz as the bishop, and he has this sort of whole like diagonal attack idea. Munoz kind of makes a nod to that concept, but like not really. It's left a little open, I think. But I mean, Munoz knew it was Caesar for a while, doesn't say anything, and then goes to the house and just like hangs out, even though like he's the one who's about to get like taken out, maybe. Like, I would not hang out. Anytime the villain starts monologuing, you know you're okay, right? And so like I guess I don't leave at that point because I know I'm okay. But at what point does he throat punch you? You're sitting there, he's talking to you, and then he says, come and look at this, and then you lean over and skedaddle.
When you've discovered the murderer, you know what you do?
Call the police.
You call the police. And you just let them deal with it, and you don't ever look at the person again, and you definitely don't go to his house, and you definitely don't sit down with him while he drinks a gin and lemonade.
Well, like, how do you know he's not poisoning you, right? Like, how? I don't know. That's just questionable. Can we all agree that the ending was, like, really convoluted? I don't mind somebody deciding that they are going to be the chess murderer, and that is the way they're going down in history. I don't mind. That's okay with me. I want your motivations to be reasonable, and they weren't. I could have taken any one of these, but like the combination of them Like, look, Cesar, you're a psychopath. You don't have to explain it. That's okay. Some people are born this way. Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to make it make sense to yourself, bro. It's okay.
Oh, Shelby's here. Hey, Shelby. She wanted Munoz to try to kill Cesar when they were at Cesar's apartment. Break off the stupid monologue.
Yeah.
As soon as the bad guy starts monologuing, you kill him. You just let it go. You don't need all the answers, and you don't need to know. Allison says, lost in translation. I think so. Sorry, we already read that one. And then Shelby said the ending was lame. I finished this last section quickly, only after the new book was announced.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm very excited about switching gears and reading our new book.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of unfortunate because the conceit of the book is this painting and is this chess game, and it is only tangentially related to the final product, right? So if Cesar had never, it's important that Cesar was a secret chess player because he could have even not been a chess player because he had an accomplice.
Oh, I forgot about that.
His computer.
What was even the point of finding Caesar's little picture when he was 7 playing chess? Like,
because it's what it is the. It's semi-lazy, I think, but it's what leads you to being like, it's what takes Julia to realizing it's Cesar.
Who didn't play chess when they were 7? Everyone like moved the little pieces around, like, I understand.
But he was like a
that the horse moves
player.
this way. But his name wasn't even in the book, so he wasn't that championship of a player. Yeah. Did something else happen when he got defeated, or what? Did he just lose a round of chess? Like, I kind of skimmed past it or whatever.
I don't know.
Well, I just feel like I've missed something.
But so here's the point, right? Is Cesar could have never been a childhood chess player, have bought this computer, and still have committed this murder,
like
right?
None of that.
It did not. It didn't matter, but it tied into the repression thing, but the painting really doesn't tie into the murders at all, other than there's chess in the painting, there's chess here, but there could have been.
It's just that the painting inspired the murder. So really, the painting had nothing to do with anything except that it triggered Caesar's.
But it could have been anything. Like anything could have triggered.
Yeah.
I don't know. So the only thing I can really tie this to, of course, is like the Da Vinci Code or something like that, right? Where there's hidden symbols in there.
Yeah, but that's actually good.
Well, yes, but the symbols in the paintings actually matter because they are leading you to clues to an actual real life, whatever. And we don't know anything about the painting here at the end.
Right.
We just don't. I mean, the painter, Mr. Flanders or whatever his name is, just could have been like super high one night and painted "Who Killed the Knight?" and I'm like, oh, that's dumb, right? Somebody's gonna get me, and then paint it over it. We have no idea.
Yeah. So Peggy points out, and I had thought of this too, and I just wasn't sure if the timeline all lined up because I don't remember.
Yeah.
But just it was convoluted, incoherent, and a stereotype of AIDS as the cherry on top, and I think that's where this was stemming from, that whole worldwide fear of, like, that AIDS is the gay disease, right?
Yeah.
Even though
Now, so that really took off though a little before this book. But
well, that makes sense though. That this is just
that's true.
This is just built on top of all of that, because there's still a lot of that fear that still exists. It hasn't cleared up. It did a lot of damage. Allison says, did you find Julia's lack of sorrow for her longtime friends ending strange?
Yes. Julia.
She should be pretty traumatized from all this. He raised her, was her closest confidant, her best friend. Her whole world revolved around him. And
he killed the love of her life, kind of, sorta, and her best friend, kind of, sorta. Like, none of those relationships were healthy, but neither was her relationship with him. And that's the point, right? That's the point. Is he realizes that Julia is trapped in all these. I like that concept, right?
Yeah.
That we are all bad for you, so I'm going to remove us all and hope that you're okay for it. Number one, no. There's no way you just murder everybody. Tell somebody, I've murdered everybody so you can be better, and then they're just like, I will be better now, right? You were traumatized, right? Whatever you had going on is worse now. Mm-hmm. And also, you're just going to go find other people like that, right? It doesn't matter.
Right. So, yeah, because that's within you, and wherever you go, there you are.
But I like the concept, right? I like the idea that is the reason for these murders.
I would have liked it a lot better, though, if she would have raged on him in the middle of that monologue and just knocked him out, killed him, whatever. Because
he doesn't kill because he is repressed both sexually and as a chess player or whatever, right? That's not why he kills. He kills, according to himself, for Julia, right? Mm-hmm. The murders are for her benefit. The painting is about the repression. Those two things don't really necessarily tie together. I don't really get it. But
this reminded me of this whole, he killed these people for a moral reason, for Julia's benefit, right? It reminded me of a quote from Jude the Obscure about like don't do an immoral thing, an immoral thing for moral reasons. Like don't try to justify your bad behaviors for some greater good.
I don't know, and there's kind of a nod to this as well, that like he says he's killing them for Julia's benefit, but also he is jealous of Alvaro, or whatever the guy's name is, right?
And of Minshew.
Yeah, he specifically says that he was jealous of the boyfriend because he couldn't be that thing for Julia. There's that repression thing again, right? And like, I'm on board. That's an interesting motive.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't it Woody Allen that ended up like marrying his adopted daughter?
Yeah, it's complicated.
That's what this was.
Let's catch up on the comment.
Okay. Peggy says, so a central theme in the book is unhealthy relationships in the painting, in the police, in the art world, and with the characters. That's a good point.
Yep. I mean, yes. But
man, so glad this one's behind us. Well, and so, do we consider reading something else by this author to try to just kind of sort out, is it us, is it him, is it just the content?
I think the plot is weak. That's fine. But it was exhausting, not because of the plot, but because of the description.
Right.
I don't need that. And if the other books are like that, I'm good. Like I'm just good. Because if there had been more focus on the plot as opposed to what everyone was literally wearing, this book could have been better developed. And there's so much potential here. But
yeah. Well, and it just like last week, I didn't like what I was reading, but I really enjoyed our picking apart of the content, but that all fell apart in the third part. We never see the owners again, the daughter or the niece and the husband, and that was supposed to be some big part of the characters and the plot. It just so many things kind of fell apart.
Yeah, that's another thing, right? So like both she and Munoz like kind of like this old wheelchair man, right? And then at the end they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna steal his painting.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got insurance. Whatever.
I mean, poor guy. I liked him.
Yeah, I did too. Whatever. Shelby says, as long as she can put it down, she'll try again. I am not opposed to us trying again after a while, but...
This also brings up a good question about the rules of this book club. Yeah. Can we take a vote halfway through the book or 2/3 of the way through the book and say we're not finished?
I don't know. I kind of think it's our duty to complete it. I don't know. We have said that we're going to do this thing.
But abandoning a book is a real thing. Sometimes it just needs to be done. I'm with you. I would have been unsatisfied had I not finished it, because then I would never really have known what I would have thought about it myself. I would have been going off what someone else said. You have to experience all kinds of things in life, right? So Allison says, Holmes and Watson, they weren't. So true. And I was offended every time they made any kind of connection to that. And that's interesting, because in the Sherlock Holmes stories, those stories are not built in a way where the reader can solve the mystery. Yeah. There's way too much information held into Sherlock's head. Right. It's what we would call now kind of a cheap way out, where like at the end it all comes together. But that was just the design of Sherlock and his mysteries.
Well, and I want to point to this too, right? Like my guess that Cesar was the murderer and Munoz's guess that there is murder. There is literally no evidence. Literally no evidence. You could write a sequel where somebody gets killed in a chess way again, and it turns out that Cesar made it all up, and he never killed anybody. Yeah. And that's it. Because the only evidence that points to Cesar is the fact that there was no evidence that points to Cesar, right? And the fact that he was absent
Absent
in
at
every
all the wrong times.
absent at
Yeah.
all the wrong times, right? It is evidence
all the
of
right
omission,
times.
right, rather than actual evidence.
Which isn't evidence.
Which is not how Sherlock Holmes works either,
Right.
Like there is actual evidence. You
Right.
can follow this trail. Munoz makes this guess, and it's the best guess that we have. But like, it's the best guess that we have because there's 5 characters, and one of them is going to be the murderer, because that's better than there's been a psychopath loose in the city and he's been killing people, and it just happens to be all your friends, right? But odds are that's what's happening. It's not this guy. I don't know.
Shelby says, imagine a murder mystery set in the fashion world, 3,000 pages later. I don't wanna.
I mean, you know, there could be something interesting there, right?
Yeah.
And I do like the Dan Brown stuff, so. Yeah, I saw
Greg
that.
Fox says this was somehow one of the best episodes you've ever done.
Thank you very much.
We do end up having more to say about the things that we don't like
Yeah, we do.
than the things, like anything we love, we're just like, we just loved it.
Now,
And
look,
that's
I
all
want to be very clear that we talked a little bit about like how hard do we go on this, because nobody wants to see somebody just like complaining about a thing, and I don't think I don't think that we've done that, right?
Yeah,
Like
sorry
I
if
do
we
think there's
did.
some enjoyable and redeemable things here. It's also like hilarious how poorly done it was, kind of, right? Like I'm not saying I can do better. I'm not saying that. And unfortunately, this is off the back of one of the best book that we have read yet, right? And somebody had to take the cake at some point.
Right.
So I'm kind of glad that we got it out of the way.
Yes.
I also am kind of looking forward to the next one, right? That's gonna, like, when we have a thing where we're like, oh, do you remember that chess book? This is not as good as that one. Like, oh, wow.
And that's a good point, right? Like our perspective is messed up because really we've read some awesome books.
Yeah, we really have.
And we've been on a really good roll of just books that have like hit the spot. We've really enjoyed them, and even like the one that I didn't enjoy as much, I still appreciated it. And now that time has passed, this is Childhood's End. I look back on it very fondly.
Yeah.
And I took a lot from it, and I didn't realize that. And this might happen with this book too. That as time passes, we kind of look back on it, and we remember the things that we gained from it. We tend to forget the painful parts that made us want to throw the Kindle out the window into the lake.
I don't know. I am generally opposed to you and I quitting a book. If you want to quit a book and I finish it, that's fine.
As long as one of us.
Well, I don't want for somebody to come
be
along.
reading along. What if someone really loved it, and then they were like, "Well, where's the last episode?"
We don't have people right now who are coming along, watching our playlists, and then reading random books, right?
Yeah.
We do have people who are reading Three Body Problem and are watching our videos. That happens.
Yeah.
No one is watching our other videos and deciding, I'm going to read the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle.
But you should.
No one. You absolutely should. But no
So
one.
good.
Talk about another great murder mystery. That one was actually really good.
So good.
So, but the point being is, I would hate for somebody to like watch a syllabus, think, oh, I'm gonna read this book, and then get to the second episode, and it's done.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No. Well. Yeah.
I want to be there for you
we'll
when
always
you experience
finish.
this.
And we'll always strive to be very genuine in what we talk about, and I think that we are. Like we can find the goods and the bads, even though
Sure.
they're mostly bad. Allison says we're all in agreement here that this was not our favorite read. Therefore, we didn't hurt anyone's feelings by bashing it. And Peggy says, if someone gets upset because I say this book sucked, that person could just be upset. Now, I will say, if you do love chess and you do love art and you do love very descriptive descriptions of descriptions, then this book is for you.
This book has like, I'm not gonna check. It has like almost 20,000 votes, I think, on Goodreads.
Oh, I saw 300. So I don't know what you're looking at.
No. Anyway, but most of them are
20,000.
Most of them are 5-star.
I don't know. The scrutiny was smart, astute, and funny. Thank you, Greg. That's very kind. And we do kind of feel bad if we go too hard on it, because again, someone might read it and totally love it. But that's the great thing about books is there's just so many different books for everybody.
It has 23,000
Yeah,
ratings
down.
with an average rating of 3.79. I voted.
So-
I encourage you all to go vote and bring that number down.
Wow, excuse me.
Now, I hope nobody was wearing headphones because you're deaf now.
Man, I don't know where that came from.
Are we liable?
Well, That sneeze just knocked the thought right out of me. 20,000.
23,000.
So then it's just us.
Yeah.
It has to just.
It's because I'm uncultured.
Like, honestly, that might be what it is. That's just
It's
not what
not.
I've seen.
It's not. I'm not uncultured. I'm a very cultured villain. I whistle Vivaldi in the mornings.
He does.
So I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh. Well, are you ready for some this week in literary history
Yes, please.
facts? All right, guys, and keep talking in the chat if you have more things you want to talk about. But we're winding it down, and I'm going to go through some this week in literary history. So, nobody knows the name, but you know that the name of the book, that All I Ever Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten guy. Have you heard of that before?
No.
Oh, well, us public school folks heard about it. Anyways, he was born today, this day in history. William Sidney, who wrote O. Henry, died on June 5th. And Gwendolyn Brooks, who wrote tons of poetry. She was an amazing author. One of my favorite poems that she wrote is called We Real Cool. She was born on June 6th. So that's just some fun facts. So I really like this, like just books in general that were published in June. I'm not going to read through all of them. But two of the Harry Potters, George Orwell's 1984, The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman, which we highly recommend. 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez was published in June. And Carl Sagan's Billions and Millions was published in June.
Cool.
And we'll go through more later. But I really like that this list has kind of given me some things to add to our potential reading list by reading just things published in the month.
Yeah. So it was, one of the books, can I add one more?
Oh, sure.
Dune was published in the month of June.
Yeah, I was going to say that one for
And,
you later.
well, sorry, here it is.
It's
And
okay.
we finally decided last night, after talking to Greg about it for a couple...
Just back and forth and back and
for
forth.
a couple weeks, that we will read Dune for the show because neither of us has read it yet.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna save it maybe for our next sci-fi, whenever that's gonna be. So
Yeah.
that's something to be looking forward to. He says the audiobook is decent, and so that will help because it's a monster.
Yeah.
We're excited about it.
He says it's just fine.
Yep.
And I trust his judgment.
We love Dune, so
Yeah, the movie's really great.
we should probably read it.
Yeah. So there's that.
Yep. One more point was Peggy said something.
Oh, yeah. Let's get
How
back
do I
to
get
the
back
chat. Sorry, guys.
I just wanted to. Oh, that was it. She said something about the that maybe in the original translation there was breaks between the scenes. That is one of the big things that takes away from this, right? Is that you're doing stuff, and then you're like, why am I in a castle? Oh, it's 300 years ago. I'm a different person now.
Give me a little ...
Yeah.
when that scene changes.
Yeah, that was kind of confusing, and also not only between the settings, but you know, like Julia will be in a bar and then she's taking her shoes off, and you're like, that's weird, but it's because she's home now, you know. And somehow we got a description of like how her shoelaces were made, but we got no description of her going home.
I didn't read that part.
I made that up. That's not.
Oh.
But the fact that you believed it means that there was too much description.
Also, there's a movie based loosely on this.
There is.
And we should watch it and do it, except for those we have on.
It has terrible ratings, truly terrible ratings, and it's called, I think it's called Uncovered.
Uncovered? It's on the description on Goodreads. Oh.
Do y'all want to do that? We could we could do. What if we did like a live movie watching thing? That might be too complicated, but we could all agree to watch it and then do like a live.
Yeah, there's a
immediately
copyright
after.
issue, you know, if we
Yeah.
watched it while we were live.
Well, we just wouldn't have the audio playing, right? Like
Yeah.
we could have like a little headset on or something and talk about like, oh.
That's interesting. Sorry, Peggy, you're right. It's Robert Fulghum, and I was so excited about the Everything I Learned in Kindergarten, or Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. I forgot to say his name. His name was Robert Fulghum. That was the author.
Okay.
So sorry about
Yeah.
that.
And Shelby mentions all the books of Dune. Right now, what we're saying is we'll read
Just
one
one.
book. I'm not opposed to doing them all. I'm definitely not opposed to doing them all. But I have several friends, and Greg, who has said that you could just read the first book and be okay. It's self-contained enough. So, and there's several other like sci-fi or fantasy series that would really like to try,
Mm-hmm.
but they are series.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, that goes with the territory, I guess. When you're building fantasy or sci-fi, you're building a world. And so it's very hard to just contain that into one book. And especially since when sci-fi first started, They were published serially in magazines, and so that kind of set the stage
Sure.
for, you know, combining some of these into longer little anthologies, you know. So, yeah, but I'm excited about it, and we're going to do that. We have also added some more fantasy to our list on Goodreads.
Yeah.
And
our Goodreads group is going to be a great place for you guys to suggest books. I'm definitely interested in trying to find some one-off fantasy books, just self-contained, by themselves.
So hard.
You know, it's a real shame because I just finished the Shadow and Bone show, and I would like to read the books, but it's a series, and that seems a little complicated. So, anyway, enough on this one.
Yeah.
We're about to put out our syllabus for Salt to the Sea, so please make sure to check that out, and go ahead and get reading for next week, and don't quit on us.
And yeah, thanks for being with us. We
had a blast.
Yeah.
Today was a lot of fun.
All right, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.